This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Prudential. Whether you are looking into life insurance, supplemental health benefits, or need help planning your retirement, Prudential can be your rock. Women face unique financial planning challenges. Becoming financially confident can help start with a simple checklist and a conversation with a financial professional. Visit the show notes for a link to an easy checklist to help you start retirement planning. Visit Prudential.com to connect with financial professionals today and take the next step to becoming financially fearless. Megan Allen is a customer and paid promoter of Prudential Financial. To learn more about the material terms of her relationship with Prudential, please go to shespeaks.com/Prudential Disclosure Megan. This podcast is provided for educational purposes only. It is not intended to be, nor should it be construed as investment, insurance, financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult with your own advisor for such advice.
I would always prefer to have a partner, that I'm working with like multiple times rather than a one-off, just because you're building that relationship. You're getting to know their brand. As far as brands that I like to work with, I think just brands that I use myself.
Welcome back to the show, and hope you're all having a great week. We have a terrific guest for you today. I have on Megan Allen. She is the creator of Raising Twin Boys, which is a blog and an Instagram page. She's got identical twin sons, and she talks about the experience of having twin identical children. And she started her blog because she found herself in a big city without family nearby after she had her kids, and she wanted to reach out and connect with other moms. I mean, this is a story that I feel like I've heard from so many other creators and influencers about how they got started. They were looking to create community for themselves. And Megan did that. She started sharing her own experience as a mom of identical twin kids that resonated with lots of other people. She tells some really interesting, fun stories in here about who are some of the people who've started to follow her and become part of her community that she's really built momentum with. And it's not just moms of other twins or identicals. It's interesting because she gets people who have family members like, grandchildren who are twins and all these other people who connect with her. And she talks about the joy of connecting with people on her channel, on social media, and why it's been such a great positive credit and element to her life and her family's life. We also talk about the business of working with different companies, how she decides to work with different brands, because of course she's built a strong following and people and brands want to work with her. So we talk about that. And then we talk about what she thinks is next in this space. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Megan as much as I enjoyed having it. We're going to jump right into it. Here we go. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk with you. I, of course, spent time on your social media account and love the content that you're creating. I know we've worked with you in the past. How did you get started as a creator, as an influencer?
Yeah, I think my journey was a little bit different than some other people's. I actually worked for food companies on the marketing team. And I was managing events and I wanted to kind of expand our brand focus. So I ended up interfacing with influencers in the area. I was living in San Francisco. So I recruited people for sit-down dinners and curated events like Galentine's, and we would decorate cookies at yoga studios and just different ways to get the brand involved. And I met so many influencers through that and I loved it. And then I'd always had a background in photography. I already had an Instagram account, but I kind of was thinking one day, I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to build more community. So I kind of just started posting and then sort of just developed a following organically. And about a year after I was posting, I became full-time. And I've been doing it for about 5 years full-time. I don't think I ever thought it would be where it is today.
Now here you are today and you are earning income from it. So can you talk a little bit about how you think about your audience? Who are the people who follow you and how do you think about that group of people?
I think a lot of them are moms. Some of them have twins, some of them have multiples. I do a lot of like seasonal stuff with Valentine's Day, Christmas, obviously, all those things. But I think I share a lot of things that are pretty easy to do. Like I'm not spending 3 hours in my kitchen preparing a meal. So I think a lot of my audience appreciates that they can, do these fun things that maybe they didn't think of. And then I've done some super personal videos about twins. I had a pretty challenging pregnancy. I don't talk about it as much because, like, obviously the boys are a little bit older now. But when I go back to those places, I'm always kind of overwhelmed with the DMs that I get and the responses.
And I know Instagram, is that your main platform?
That's definitely my main platform. I'm active, I would say, on all platforms, but I'm definitely looking to grow on the other platforms. Specifically this year, I've been spending more time on TikTok. I'm going to start doing YouTube shorts.
In terms of how you earn income from your accounts, is it mostly through brand partnerships or is there affiliate in there? Is there one that's stronger than the other?
Definitely mostly brand partnerships. I do also work as an affiliate for a couple brands that I just really love, and they kind of do pretty well organically. I do that, and I'm on LTK working on like growing that. But I would say definitely a good like 80% is brand partnerships.
How do you think about the difference between, I'm just curious, like what you would put as a story on Instagram versus an actual post? How do you think about those differences? Because I'm not sure everyone understands that.
My organic stories, I would consider to be more like day in the life, just little behind the scenes stuff, things that are going on.
Do you find that it can be challenging as a mom judged based on what you put on content? I know we've talked with a lot of different creators who've said you kind of, everyone's got a comment, everyone's got an opinion. Some are more critical. How do you think about that and deal with the fact that everyone has an opinion?
I think anytime you have a video that goes like more viral or you have a brand that's promoting your content, you do tend to get those kind of different comments. After 5 years of doing this, I kind of just let them roll off. I do get a little like mama bear when somebody says something about my kids. I think we also have to remember the people that are constantly on the internet able to do that. Maybe they don't have as much going on in their life. But I think on the day to day, people are pretty supportive.
How do you think about your long-term brand partnerships? I know we talked about the fact that you do have these brand partnerships. How do you think about the long-term ones and how do you choose the brands that you want to work with?
I would always prefer to have a partner, that I'm working with like multiple times rather than a one-off, just because you're building that relationship. You're getting to know their brand. As far as brands that I like to work with, I think just brands that I use myself. Like I'm not going to promote a brand that I wouldn't support.
We've worked on some things together. Can you talk a little bit about one of those partnerships that we've worked on with you?
So Prudential is somebody that I worked with last year on a 3-month partnership. And that was really personal to me because I lost my dad a couple years ago and he had a policy with them. So there was a death benefit involved with his passing. So I was handling his estate and, everything just went really smoothly for someone who, had never lost a parent or anybody really close to them. I had a lot of responsibility on my plate and just kind of having someone to call. I just expected there to be a lot of red tape and things like that, and there wasn't. And then so I ended up actually becoming a customer as well. So I think, that partnership really made a lot of sense for me because I was already a customer, already saw, how they worked. So I felt really comfortable recommending them to my audience.
I think it's so consistent with what you said before. I feel like there's a theme here. And consistency of, all right, I'm not going to talk about a brand or product that I wouldn't use myself. In the case of Prudential, I know you were a customer and had an experience with them. And so that was one part of it. And then also I know it was sort of a multi-month
Mhm.
partnership. So that goes back to what you were saying before too, about how, it's important to have those types of relationships because you learn more about the brand, you learn more about how
Mhm.
your audience is reacting to it. And it gets you almost like better insights as
Mhm.
you go and create more content for that, for that particular brand. I know that Prudential is obviously focused on women in particular and money and,
Mhm.
has lots of different types of services. Why was it important for you to talk to your audience about financial planning specifically as it relates to women?
Well, I think it's important because, you never really know what's going to happen. You don't know what'll happen down the line. A lot of women, they may rely on their partner to be a breadwinner, things like that. And then, especially like with myself, I'm independent. So if I don't start saving, I don't have a company that's going to start a plan for me, things like that. So you do have to take your own initiative. And I think it's just really important as women, we're moms. We want to be able to look after our kids. We want to make sure everybody is kind of like safeguarded. And I think, when we were growing up, maybe women weren't taught that as much as men in school. So there was a lot that I learned actually when my dad passed. It's like, oh, I do need to have all these things that, nobody had really ever told me about.
It is so important, I think, for women to feel empowered
Mhm.
financially and not like they are at the mercy of something else, like circumstances, right?
Mhm.
So that's one of the things I love about this idea of helping women kind of be more proactive and
Mhm.
empowered so that you don't feel like you're at the mercy of circumstances. So
Yeah.
the idea that there's an empowerment element to it that you're going to actually feel calmer and
Mhm.
more empowered by doing it is something that really resonates with me as a woman. And I love that you talk to your audience about that, and it shows also, I think, that what you can talk to your audience about because you've built
Mhm.
this relationship with them. What did you enjoy most about that partnership that you were just talking about with Prudential? And was there anything that you kind of learned as it related to financial topics that was surprising to you?
I think what I enjoyed most about it was, again, just speaking from my experience. So the first post I did talk about a lot about, my dad's passing and estate planning and the death benefit that came from that. And I think just like clearing the cobwebs for people, because again, it's not a subject that a lot of women talk about. So I think that that was really interesting. I did learn some things as far as like my husband, I did talk about him as well. Like he was hospitalized about 2 years ago now. And then we had a moment last year, sort of late in the year, where we thought he might have some type of cancer. So luckily he didn't. But just knowing that, like, if those things did happen, and he lost some time at work or something like that, that there would be some support on that side. I think that that was really helpful. And I think a lot of people may not realize that. And then also knowing that some policies, do kind of need a little bit extra. Like, you
Mhm.
might not get everything that you need out of maybe your health insurance, like, but that there are options, you don't have to be left with these like huge bills. And I think just, again, clearing those cobwebs and like talking about it,
Mhm.
starting that discussion. I answered some DMs, with some people that had specific questions and kind of just referred them back to Prudential as well. But
Mhm.
I think just helping them and my audience knowing that it wasn't like I just read this on a form. Like I
Yeah.
actually am a Prudential customer. I went through, two different things with them.
Mhm.
I think they felt really comfortable kind of coming to me with that as well.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I think what it shows that, just that example you're sharing, it shows the power of being able to, do this and represent, you mentioned that a big part of how you, and I know how a lot of other creators and influencers are able to earn income and monetize is by the brand partnerships. But to your point, you need to be selective about those
Mhm.
brand partnerships and choose ones that actually make sense for you There are things that
Definitely.
you use yourself, products or services you use yourself. And I
Mhm.
think that's what makes it so much more authentic. As you move forward, how are you thinking about your content? Is there anything else that you're thinking about as it relates to your content for 2024?
Actually, we're planning to adopt. I'm like putting it out there, but so we'll be sharing that journey, however it goes, getting certified for foster care and that type of thing. So I might share more of that, just the story behind it all. So I think it'll evolve that way.
Well, Megan, thank you so much for spending this time with us. If people want to follow you and see your content, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can follow me on Instagram at Raising Twin Boys. I also have a blog, but yeah, everything is pretty much Raising Twin Boys.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. If you're an influencer or a brand that wants to work with us, please feel free to email us at info@shespeaks.com. Until next time.